Hello and welcome to Mana here on HBN TV, the Voice of Jesus Christ. Mana is a program designed with you in mind to be able to bring you shows, discussions, information, something that will edify you, strengthen you, lift you up, and also inform you. There are so many things going around in the world, but there are things that we really don't know and we don't understand unless the truth is told to us. And this show is totally geared and dedicated to bringing the truth to you and deal with the truth so that you will know what is going on in your own environment, in your own community, in your life, in your Christian walk. So with that said, I'm so excited to tell you today that we are going to pick up from last week. This is part 2 of our discussion about abortion, about the fetus. Where does life begin, and all that we needed to know. Before we go on to joining our guest and have our discussion, I want us to go to my co-host, Miss Melissa Maddox, and see what she has for us for today. Welcome back to Mana here on HBN TV, the Voice of Jesus Christ, sitting here with Miss Beautiful Melissa to get our weekly dose of exciting information that will help us grow and edify in the things of God. Miss Melissa, how are you?
Doing good.
Excellent. You're looking good.
You as well. I love the dress.
Thank you. So that's excellent. I'm glad you come to visit us every week. I'm glad we're doing the sessions. This is really good and it's helpful. So with that said, what do you have for us today?
Depression.
Depression, oh my God.
Not an exciting topic at all.
Yeah, I go through it every now and then.
Oh.
Talk to me. Yes, I hope you have a good answer, a good solution to this.
Well, this is going to get a little personal.
Okay, so let's talk.
Depression can often stem from loneliness, isolation, and burnout from everyday life.
Yes.
That's not an actual definition, but that's what I think depression is. Yeah. So now an actual definition, according to the American Psychiatric Association, says depression is a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act. Depression causes feelings of sadness and or loss of interest in activities that you once enjoyed.
Yes.
6.7% of adults are affected by depression. 16.6% of people will experience depression at one point in their life. And then actually, there's statistics, well actually that's for suicide, but there's quite a bit out there about depression.
Yes. Almost everyone I know, they go through depression and they go through the loneliness and the sadness. And I remember going through this myself when I lost my sister and my brother back to back. And and then other things happened at the same time. So like I could not even breathe, and depression is really painful.
It is.
Yeah.
It can affect every part of your body.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
Have you experienced it yourself?
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Tell me a little bit. Talk about it.
So I experienced depression like a large majority of my life.
Really?
Growing up, I guess I won't get too detailed, but in school, I guess because I didn't have friends, I couldn't connect with people, make connections, so I was depressed by that and other things in life. So, but it affected the way I thought about myself. I didn't like myself because of it. And it affected how I perceived myself because others saw me a certain way. So then I let that dictate how I thought about myself.
Affect you, about yourself, yeah. And
even the place where I grew up, the town that I grew up, it had the word lone at the first part of it. So that wasn't good either. It was pretty, So
okay. Yeah. Depression is painful. It can really affect a person. It can separate you from the Lord. Your walk with God. In every which way that you can think of, it's a mechanism the enemy uses to really pull you behind, especially if you have a purpose and that destiny you're ready to fulfill. Depression comes in and it makes you become hopeless, helpless, incapacitated. You can't think, you can't work, you can't even reason
to do things that you're supposed to be doing. Depression is a bad thing.
Yeah, and
Very
it can
bad
lead
thing.
to suicide and other things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it can. It can. It isolates you and make you become just separate from the world.
And I actually never thought I'd ever come depression, but I went to a service and I received a deliverance, and it was like a cloud lifted off of me, like a dark cloud, and it was something on my shoulders. No matter how many different pillows I try to get and try to fix, this weight on my shoulders, it was lifted.
Whoa!
I received deliverance.
Oh, so
That's not saying that it's not going to come back, because the enemy will try to bring it back.
yes, but you're aware of it now.
Yes,
yes, then you can fight
all the lies of the enemy.
Yeah.
I didn't know at that time because he was blocking my spiritual ears and eyes from seeing what he was trying to do.
Yes, and that's exactly what he wants. His target is to block your spiritual ears and eyes. So you have to be awake. You have to be conscious of it, and you have to fight it. You have to fight the good fight of faith. So depression is not your friend. It is your enemy. With that said, Melissa, thank you very much. We'll be right back after these messages. Thank you.
I am sitting here with Nurse Margaret Corona to continue our discussion from last week about the fetus, the embryo. You taught us a whole lot, but before we get into it, I just want to tell you a little bit about our sister here. She is a nurse practitioner who has graduated from Cal State Long Beach and serves a diverse group of people. But before that, she worked in the OBGYN as a nurse, registered nurse for over 25 years. She is a powerhouse. She knows what she's talking about and what she's doing. So let's listen to her. Miss Margaret, welcome.
Thank you for having me to your seat.
I am really enjoying talking to you. So we left off last week talking about the fetus. And then I asked you a question. How do doctors tell that there's something wrong with the fetus? I mean, what makes them get to a point where they want to have an abortion and take life out of their womb? What will that be?
Well, actually, I think the intent of the physician is just to see that the pregnancy is going along normally. So as a woman goes into the first trimester, they do a blood test just to make sure there's no chromosome abnormalities, which might lead to something like Down syndrome. They do that test between 10 to 13 and a half weeks. And then they do a second test during the second trimester between 15 and a half and 20 weeks to see not only chromosome problems, but also to see if there's any neural tube defects. I think the intention of the physician is just to monitor and make sure that the fetus is growing well. If they find there's any abnormalities, they will inform the mother or the parents, and they would more or less recommend, based on the outcome of the child, that, or not recommend, tell them that it's their option to have an abortion, meaning ending the pregnancy.
Right.
That's always an option. It does not have to happen. It's always the decision and the choice of the mother, mother and father.
Right.
And so that's something to understand because a lot has been done in history where people have been forced into things that they didn't want to do.
Right. And those are the things that I want us to discuss about. Like some people have made the argument that America has had long history of abortion being, allowed in this country legally.
Yes.
Tell us, is that true? Tell me a little bit about it.
No, that is not true.
Okay.
No way is it true. I know that for the last 50 years, because of Roe versus Wade, we have a generation that thinks that we have always had the right to abortion.
Right.
But that was never true. And having a right to abortion has never been addressed in our Constitution before until this last year in well, this year, 2022, just
yes.
recently. We're not even
yes.
done. I just wanted to begin, we always think our country started in 1776, and it did. However, it was 1789 that we had the Constitution of the United States written, and that is the law of the land. And in no way at that time did they say you have a right to abortion. And the Constitution's been amended 27 times since, and nowhere did they ever said you had a right to an abortion. In fact, in 1859, the American Medical Association said that it was illegal to have an abortion unless it had to do with saving the life of the mother.
Okay. My question is, the law says it's illegal to have an abortion to save the life of a baby.
The law today?
Not today.
Before
then, in the 70s,
1859. No,
1859,
to save the life of the mother.
Yeah, okay.
Unless it's to save the life of the mother. Okay. The American Medical Association said abortion was illegal. And it's remained the same way. In fact, by 1875, every state in America had abortion laws saying that you cannot do abortion unless it has to do with saving the life of the mother. And that brings us up until 1973 with Roe versus Wade, in which they said that having an abortion has to do with the privacy laws of the Constitution, which we realized this year that it was a misinterpretation.
Yes.
So, no, abortion has never been a history of America. America has always been a Christian nation with Christian values in which we have respect for life. So,
okay, let's talk about, there's a lady who has played a big part when it comes to abortion. That is none other than Margaret Sanger.
Oh, yes.
What is her involvement in this? What part did she play?
Well, Margaret Sanger, she started Planned Parenthood from her clinics for helping women get contraception. But I wanted to go back on the history of Margaret Sanger. She was born in 1879. In 1900, she did enroll in the White Plains Hospital as a nursing student, in which she had to live there. She did not complete the program. She was married young, in 1902. She had 3 children. And by 1911, the family had some tragedies in which their house burned. The children weren't living with her and her husband. And the couple moved down to New York City. 1911, she began working as a visiting nurse in the slums of the east side of New York. I don't really like to call her a nurse. I've been a nurse for 25 years in the emergency room. I'm a nurse practitioner. To me, a nurse is somebody who completes their education.
Right.
To me, a nurse is somebody who works within the hierarchy of the medical system.
Right.
She did not complete her education. She worked on her own, not under a doctor in the slums, as a midwife, taking care of women. She is not a nurse.
Okay.
And so I kind of get insulted when they equivalent her with a nurse. That is not a nurse.
I can understand. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we're going to come back and pick it up where we left off, because I want to know more about Miss Margaret Sanger.
Yes.
Because some people make her to be a saint.
Yes.
And some people make her to be a sinner. We want to know who is she when we come back.
And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. Hosanna Broadcasting Network is broadcast around the world, preaching, teaching, ministering, entertaining, uplifting, compelling, and spreading the voice of Jesus Christ worldwide. HBN TV, the voice of Jesus Christ worldwide, broadcasting now.
HBN has a new attitude. We are changing, growing, and expanding to fit your style. The groove is on. Our program lineup is carefully crafted to meet the whole family's need. It is guaranteed to entertain, empower, edify, strengthen, and build its audience. Our shows are unique, cutting edge, and innovative to soothe your soul. Watch talk shows, cooking shows, fitness, family movies, travel, outdoor, and most of all, anointed ministries such as Rejoice, God's Faithful Disciples, Sid Roth, Manifest, and Joyce Myers. Picture TV on channel 35.2. Program your Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Download our apps for iOS and Android. Log on to our website. Whatever you have to do, don't miss out on the excitement and be a part of the movement. HBN TV, the voice of Jesus Christ, providing wholesome programming to its community.
He is the lily of the valley, the rose of Sharon, the bright morning star, Jesus Christ, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, HBN, the voice of Jesus Christ.
Look up to the four corners of the earth and see that the harvest is plentiful. Fear and confusion has set in the hearts of billions in this time of uncertainty. But for those who are called, it is a time of excitement. A new opportunity is rising in the air. People are asking, searching, seeking, and the answer lies in the infallible, uncompromising Word of God that will heal a soul. The only way they can know about this is through innovative and dedicated media that delivers the message. We are looking for those who are ready to maximize this opportunity to fulfill the call in their lives. HBN TV is committed to do our part by providing the platform if you commit to do your part and preach the gospel. Don't let this great opportunity pass you by. Join us and be the voice of Jesus Christ. Visit us at wholecenterbroadcasting.com.
Welcome back to Mana here on HBN TV. Still sitting in with Nurse Margaret Corona discussing this amazing issue that everybody talks about, abortion, that divides the country, divides Christians, divides everybody. And we want to know more about it. Where does this come from? As we left off, we talked about Sister, what's her, Margaret Sanger.
Yes.
She has your name.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So some people make her to be a saint. Some people make her to be a sinner. I want to know more about her. You seem to have...
Right. And I wanted to know more about her too 20 years ago when I was studying biomedical ethics at Cal State Long Beach. So I read about her life extensively. And yes, she does have my name, Margaret.
Yes.
And that's when I realized, no, she was no way what we would consider a nurse today. Even though she helped with the women in the Lower East Side in 1911, in a sense of being a midwife. You know, by 1913, she left that position.
Okay.
She got into magazine writing, on which she was talking about contraception. And I just wanted to tell you, you know, you always kind of get to know a person by their words. One of her slogans for her magazine, which was called The Woman Rebel, no gods, no masters. That was the slogan. Another thing, she was publishing these magazines and these newsletters, so much so that in 1914, she was arrested. And instead of her facing that arrest, she left the country and went to Britain.
Really?
Unfortunately, in Britain, she met about several people involved in genetics. Genetics in a sense where they believed that that was necessary for population control to conserve the resources. She returned back to America with these ideas of genetics, and she started opening clinics, promoting contraception in a sense of genetics. She sponsored many seminars regarding genetics. And she even would speak out against people that were against things like genetics or population control. One of her speeches in 1921 called Morality of Birth Control. She divided society in three populations. The first were the educated, the second were the intelligent and responsible, and the third were the irresponsible and reckless people. She defined the third, the irresponsible, reckless people, as being whose religious scruples prevent their exercising control over their numbers.
Wow.
And she also concluded, there is no doubt in the minds of all thinking people that the procreation of this group should be stopped.
So she was really against God and his creation.
And
She
against
was
God's people, against God's church.
people, and against what God does. You know, against his people. Yeah.
She was the one generating hate speech. You know, so often today, people on the pro-choice for abortion accuse Christians of saying that we're promoting hate speech against a woman's right.
Yeah, but see, Margaret Sanger, I think, came into the scene with her own ulterior motive.
Correct.
She had a motive for opening Planned Parenthood and the things that she's been doing. Because if you literally go out and do a research, you find out most of her clinics are strategically placed in the African American
Correct.
and minority communities.
Correct.
Because they, again, we go back to the genetics you're talking about, that she wants to have population control. That was her main reason for doing this. And I don't understand why people don't even look at this as genocide. To me, it's genocide because
genocide.
One wants to control a certain group of people from growing in number, and by introducing abortion, that's genocide.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
genocide.
I'm not even talking about the moral value of it. I'm just talking about the political part of it. That's not even the right thing to do.
Yes, it is about genocide.
Yeah.
And then more so when we take it into thinking about the genocide of all that we are of this last century, the Holocaust with Adolf Hitler.
Yes.
So.
Go on, talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the genocide of the Holocaust, which occurred between 1933 and 1945 with the rise of Hitler and his National Socialist Party in Germany, they took a lot of their ideas in regarding genetics from those geneticists that had influenced the geneticists in Britain and in America. However, their idea of a genetics was not for population control to preserve resources. Their genetics was to make a superior race.
Right.
And so they highly, you know, jumped on the bandwagon with genetics and used that as an excuse as far as why they had to do things like sterilize the mentally disabled, where they had to euthanize, kill, murder children under 3 years old that had birth defects. And, you know, they started with the children first. They started with the infants. They had doctors and nurses notifying the state if there was a child born. At first, they would ask the families for the children, promising that they would get the best care. But yet they would end up murdering the children with lethal injection or with sedatives. After a while, it was compulsory. If the parents did not turn over the children, they were sent to a concentration camp. From the children, they went on to doing the adults that were mentally disabled.
So when they took the children from the parents' house, they took them into an area like a concentration camp, and they kept them there as if they're teaching them and feeding them and taking care of them. But that was not what was happening.
No, well, actually, it wasn't a concentration camp. It was disguised as a hospital.
Right, I forgot that.
Institution.
You're right. It's institution, yes.
But it's interesting because a lot of it was deception in Nazi Germany. The terms of the programs, they were called by various names, like Ministry of Helps, you know, as if it was for the benefit for the children.
Yes. And this reminds me of AB 2223. We talked about it, remember? So a part of that AB 2223 says that this is for African American women who are not socially and economically able to take care of their children. So if we don't do abortion, it's really racism. So they position it as if it is perfect for the community and perfect for the woman who's having the abortion. So I really enjoyed this discussion. This is rich. I am just absolutely in love with this. Thank you so much. So we're going to have you back again.
Okay, good.
And we'll continue this conversation. But with that said, I want to thank our audience, our guests, and everyone who has been watching. This has been amazing. And you've been watching Mana here on HBN TV. I'm your host, Tirsit Azrat. Stay tuned for more to come next week. God bless you. There's this disconnect. They are having a hard time believing that He's God.
Before you even get any further, you first have to admit, accept, and recognize that this is the Word of God.
For more information, please log on to www.hosannabroadcasting.com. We're also on Facebook, or you can follow us on Twitter.